Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Dunn from Munvo Solutions, and I want to welcome you to our presentation today on personalization. We have our guest presenters today are Jason Kim and Craig Nathan of Tangerine Bank. They're a large internet bank located here in Toronto. The presentation today will be about 25 minutes, and there'll be time at the end of the presentation for some Q&A. So because we'll be muting the phone lines, just enter any questions you have in the text box in WebEx, and we'll address the questions at the end of the presentation. So again, thanks for joining the Munvo presentation today, and now I'm going to turn it over to Craig and Jason.
Thanks, Bill. I hope everyone can see the screens that we're sharing. Just by way of introduction, my name's Craig Nathan. I'm the product owner for a channel at Tangerine called Insights. And I have with me Jason Kim, also from Tangerine. He's our marketing CRM manager. In the visual that you see there, Jason's the one with the glowing smile below me in the first screen that you see. So we're going to get started. We're going to be speaking about our experience basically over the past year or so working on our Tangerine Insights channel. We've been building inbound marketing communications together for about a year and a half, but we're going to be talking primarily about our experience in the past 12 months. Although we'll be mentioning technology a little bit here and there, we're not really going to be focusing too much on technology, a little more on our perspective, learnings, processes, our team structure, and so on. So we've learned a lot over the last 12 to 18 months, and we want to share that with you. So again, we might mention a little bit about technology, but the focus is more on process. Before we get too far, I just want to talk a little bit about Tangerine. So Tangerine was launched in 1997, and it was called ING Direct. So it was ING Group's first direct bank that they launched globally, and it was done in Canada. We've maintained our status of being Canada's leading direct bank ever since our launch in 1997. Due to the nature of our business model, we've always had a reputation of being innovative. So innovation is something that's sort of in our DNA at Tangerine, and it's innovation from both a business and a technology side. So the nature of our business was very innovative, as well as the way we use technology and the solutions and our approach to providing banking services, we believe is quite innovative. If you're not familiar with Tangerine, you may be more familiar with Scotiabank, who's our parent company. So Scotiabank acquired Tangerine in 2012, and we continue to operate independently as a wholly owned subsidiary of Scotiabank. We have over 2 million clients in Canada and close to $40 billion in assets. So that's a little bit about us and Scotiabank. Now we're going to introduce just so you get a little bit of history and familiarity with our platform, a little bit of a chronology. So our digital banner or digital banking or ad space platform has evolved a lot since our initial launch. So in 1997, we launched. In 1999, we launched our first online banking. And in online banking, we had a little bit of ad space that we could use, but these were essentially static images. In 2002, we built our first sort of homegrown solution where we put client numbers in a file, and if you were located in the file, you would see banner A. If you weren't, you would see banner B. And this actually, believe it or not, evolved for a period of about 10 years. So over 10 years, we took this homegrown marketing solution that we had built, and we evolved it. We made it more robust. We made it more versatile. And we continue to do that, integrating an IBM technology into our mix. It was called IBM Campaign. At the time, it was known as Unica. So it was fairly static. We used a lot of whitelists and putting clients in whitelists and being able to show different offers to different people based on different targeting rules that we had established. So once we had implemented IBM Campaign, things got a little bit more evolved in terms of the ability to target clients. So we were starting to make strides towards sort of a better overall inbound platform. In 2017, we decided to change things up quite a bit, and there were a number of reasons for that. In 2017, there was a theory that we had at Tangerine, which was that a more engaged client would equate to a better client. And by better client, we mean someone who uses more of our products, who transacts more with us, who has familiarity, refers more people, and so on. We had applications and we had statistics that told us that click-through rates were somewhere in the area of about 1% to 2% on the banners that we had deployed, and we really wanted to evolve that. So what we did was we started looking at this concept called insights. And because clients had told us, in fact, about 99% of the clients we had told us that they didn't like the ad space and the banners that they were seeing. They just wanted to do their banking, or they wanted to be told something that was relevant to them. So we came up with a model or a concept of providing clients with insightful information within that space, as opposed to just the perception of providing them with offers that most of them weren't interested in. So the intention for these insights was to be contextual and seamless, multi-channel, action-oriented, fresh, and so on. So when you log into the website, you should be able to do your banking, of course, but what you'll see is information that's relevant to you. So we had theories that this 1% to 2% click-through rate would increase, at least to something like 5%. And for those of you familiar with the banking space, in the mortgage area, it's even harder to get a 1% click-through rate on an ad. It's more like 0.1%. That's generally what we see. So we're not happy with this because 99.9% of our clients aren't interested in the information that we're showing them. So we did this from a technology standpoint by integrating another IBM tool called IBM Interact, and that was the tool that allowed us to, upon authentication of the client, we would go to Interact and say, the system would check to see, give me a list of all the offers that this client is eligible to see right now based on the targeting rules that we established. So we were really happy with this solution. We thought that the technology and the foundation we had built was solid. So we ran with it. We ran with it for all of 2017. So of course, the question is, after we had implemented the technology, how well did Insights work in the first year? And the answer is that it actually didn't work very well. Our click-through rates marginally increased, but it wasn't great. It wasn't what we were expecting. We were still around the 2% mark on click-through rates. So we decided to take a different path or a different direction. And what we elected to do was form an independent team that was going to be focused and dedicated on developing these insight communications. So Jason is going to be talking about, for the next couple of minutes, talking about the dedicated insights team that we formed and what the benefits of that were.
Thanks, Craig. As Craig mentioned earlier, we installed an IBM campaign and Interact system, and we didn't get the results we expected. So what went wrong? Well, nothing. We had successfully installed a sophisticated outbound and inbound marketing platform that could deliver real-time communication to our clients. What we lacked was this concept of the insight communication, which was defined as contextual, action-oriented, seamless, fresh, well-timed, and insightful. So in 2018, we put together a team to solely concentrate on building these insight communications. Although we were part of the marketing department, we did not take part in any of the day-to-day marketing activities. So let me introduce you to the team. I believe one of the most important person on the team would be the project owner. This person held the responsibility to drive what each and every insight communication looked and felt like. Like, this person needed to really understand the concept of insight and implement his vision to the rest of the team. The marketing developer is the owner of the marketing platform that dealt with the real-time inbound solution. The responsibility of this person wasn't just working within the system, but everything in and around the system. This person isn't a technical lead, but needs to understand how the system works so they can correctly direct how to solve each request that came in. The database developer is exactly what it sounds like. He's our data guy. This person needs to understand where all the data resides and what it all means. The back-end developer is responsible for understanding the inner workings of the platform, from delivering new data to the platform, linking new data sources, and coding new functions or features to help improve the overall usage of the system. The front-end developer is someone who manages and looks at the feel of our system. Most of our work will be focused on producing how each communication will look like, ensuring that everything works across different browser and devices. The developer is someone that focuses their efforts on enhancing the overall platform. Working with all the other developers on the team, they will spend their time creating and developing custom-made features. The tester is a no-brainer, someone who tests the ins and outs of the solution to verify, to confirm what you build will work in all circumstances. And finally, the Scrum Master. This person keeps everyone on track, removes any roadblocks, and helps the PO stays organized. Its primary concern is to ensure the team is running efficiently and smoothly. Overall, the team's main purpose was to develop Insight Communications, to understand it and produce it. The best way to explain what we're talking about is through an example. Early 2018, Craig, the product owner, wanted to build an Insight card that talked about ATM machines. We wanted to tell our clients about their using 3,500 Scotiabank ATM machines are free. So we targeted our checking clients and told them, did you know that our 3,500 Scotiabank ATM bank machines is free? We deployed this communication and a few weeks later looked at the results. The results wasn't what we expected. Its performance was just like any other communication. Unsatisfied with the results, and we had to do better, so the team kind of got together and refined the targeting to only go to the checking clients that incurred ATM fees. Also, we changed the messaging to stop paying ATM fees. Scotia ATM machines are free. Click here to find out more. We deployed this communication, waited a few weeks, and again received the results. The results were okay. It performed better than the previous communication, but it wasn't what we wanted. As the year went by, the team started to understand what the concept of an Insight communication really was for Tangerine. The more we worked on different types of Insight communication, the better we got. So this ATM communication, we revised them one more time. We changed our targeting so we only spoke to clients that incurred the ATM fees within the past month and was over the amount of $10. And we changed the card to say, looks like you're spending around $18 a month on ATM fees. You can avoid that. The $18 was dynamic and personalized for each client. It hit all 6 of our definition of what an Insight card was: contextual, action-oriented, seamless, fresh, well-timed, and insightful. And after a few weeks in production, this card ended up being one of our top-performing Insight communication, getting up to 25% click-through rates. Craig will now talk a little bit about results we've been having.
Thanks, Jason. So I just want to reiterate a couple of points that Jason made, and the idea that if you form a team, you put them together, and you have access to all the right information, you can produce, really insightful and engaging communications. There are a lot of elements to it, and of course, some of the real advantages that we found was that we had access to all the right people. We found historically a communication in a waterfall sort of method goes from start to finish, and there's lack of visibility and lack of accountability within the communication. So you have someone in creative services doing the copy or designing the screens. You have someone in the marketing communication side who has the strategy, and you have the developer. We blended all of this together, and we had one team accountable, and we had access to all the data and analytics to look at the results. So when we talk about 2% click-through rates, and Jason mentioned this particular Scotia ABMs or free card gave us 25% click-through rates, which when all was said and done, about half the people that we targeted actually clicked on this banner that said, looks like you're spending around $18 a month on ABMs or whatever the number was. What we found when we started employing these sort of methodologies and these learnings, we found that over the course of 2018, and you see the little graph on the right-hand side, around 8 or 9% of all the communications that our team developed were getting click-through rates of 20% or higher. So this was a staggering number for us because we were used to very low single digits, and we were really impressed with what we got. About half of the Insight communications we developed were still somewhere between 5 to 20% click-through rates. You'll notice the biggest component in this graph is less than 2%, and there were about 36% of the communications we developed that still got less than 2% click-through rates. And we kind of scratched our heads at this one because in the second half of 2018, everything was in double digits. But what we realized is because we looked at an annual number, we still had some from the beginning of the year that we hadn't really applied all of these learnings to. There are a couple of other things I want to point out. And because we were able to build more engaging content, people were swiping through and actually seeing more of our insight communications. And in fact, impressions on our cards, our insight communications, were increasing by 10% each month. And the reason for that, we believe, is that clients were actually consuming this content. So once they read it, they looked at it, they decided whether it was interesting or not, they would just dismiss it, action it, swipe it away, and see another one. So what that resulted in is the average number of clients interacting with insights had doubled from the beginning of the year when the team had first formed. The other thing that I just want to highlight, which is on the left-hand side, about mortgage communications. So I mentioned that a click-through rate on a mortgage communication is usually very low because you got to get the person at the right time, at the right place, and so on. But from around a 0.1 or 0.2% click-through rate, we actually increased that, I say in the chart here, by 5 to 10 times. It's probably more like 20 times increase. We started seeing 2% click-through rates on those. So we're going to be talking a little bit about targeting as well, like some sort of behavioral targeting that we do. But before going there, I want to reiterate something about personalizing content. Now, traditionally, as a bank, we want to tell you all about us and not so much about you. But what we realized is when we make the conversation about you as the client, the engagement is dramatically improved. And we actually have statistics where we looked at personalized versus non-personalized content. And personalizing content results in somewhere around a 3 to 5 times greater likelihood that the client will click on it. And just to give a brief example, if we wanted to tell you that our guaranteed investment product, our GIC product for 1 year, is currently 3%, traditionally, we would say, hey, our 1-year GIC is now 3%. Click here to move money into that product or open the account. What we realize, though, is we need to look at it. It's all very well to do robust and advanced targeting, but if we don't let you know that the communication has been tailored specifically to you, then you're very unlikely to click on it. So if we gave you a message that said something like, it looks like you've got a lot of money in your checking account. Are you saving for something special? Click here, and then during that journey, we tell you about our GIC product as well as other things. So those are the types of things that we wanted to make clear to the client. One other short example would be if based on your income and expenses and what our system is predicting over the coming 1 to 2 weeks, we may tell you something like, there's a risk that you're going to be going into overdraft next week. Click here and you can make adjustments to correct that. So that's highly targeted, of course, but the message is really tailored to the client. And we found that with that personalized messaging, we got dramatic increases in click-through rates. So as I mentioned, there are a number of reasons why we believe that some communications are more effective than others. And Jason's going to talk about a few of those things now.
So to summarize just what we just talked about, there are 4 areas that we concentrate our efforts on. Enhanced targeting. We all understand how to target our clients, but enhanced targeting is combining different data sets with behavior information and uploading the communication in the right time. We found this very difficult to accomplish. To combine all 3 aspects into one communication, it took efforts from all of our developers, but the results paid off once we got it. Continuous innovation. This is what helps you break the barriers and limitations. There's always a better way of doing things, and just because it's not broken doesn't mean it can't be improved. This is where you always can reach out to the experts like Munvo. These experts has the experience and knowledge that can help you get to the next level. They have worked with many different clients, and they've seen how other clients accomplish certain tasks. They are here to help you. When they succeed, you succeed. Robust personalization. This area is was actually one of the harder categories to work on. It was the insight concept that needed to be understood by all members of the team, and that took time to understand it, to refine it, and to master it. We've been together for a year now, and I would say that the team hasn't mastered it yet, but we are definitely on the same page and working towards it. Lastly, but one of the most important categories, analytics. Something everybody does but doesn't fully follow up on. You really need to look at the numbers, understand why certain communication performs better than others, revisit, revise, set up test scenarios, be able to explain what went well and what didn't, and then do it all over again. Before I give the mic back to Craig, I would just want to say that although we are speaking here on our successes we have had, I believe we just started on our journey, and there's so much more we have to learn. I believe keeping an open mind and always be willing to try new things will help continue to grow our successes that we've been having. Back to you, Mr. Nathan.
Okay, thanks. So that concludes this portion, and I understand from Bill that there were some questions that came in. If you do have questions, please feel free, I suppose, to just enter them in the chat box area. So Bill's going to read some of those questions, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. A few questions came in. So the first question is, could you speak a little bit about the specific agile methodology you employed for the product?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this, and I know a lot of people have interest in using agile and using Scrum versus Kanban and so on. We generally use a Kanban methodology, and in fact, when we first started, we were operating in 2-week sprints, and what we found was committing to delivering something in 2 weeks from now from us didn't work. So we trimmed that down to 1-week sprints, and then I think we tried to experiment with 1-day sprints, so we come in the morning and make a commitment to what we would deliver that day, and that also didn't work because of the nature of how things change so quickly with things like market volatility and interest rates changing and call center volumes. We had to be able to pivot at any time during the day, so that gave us a lot of flexibility. So now we operate using Kanban, meaning a task comes up on our board and we move it through the process as quickly as we can and finish it as quickly as we can, and then bring up another one. So simultaneously, we have probably 3 or 4 or 5 initiatives happening at the same time, but we try and keep that limited by our work in progress numbers. So I hope that answers that one.
Okay, and I've got another question here. Where do the majority of your requests for new communications come from?
So because although we operate under marketing, we don't, and we report into marketing in a sense, we don't actually take most of the requests from marketing, which some people find hard to believe. And the reason is because marketing generally is focused on, growth in deposits and acquisition of clients, and that's not where we play. We play in the area of engaging existing clients. So most of the requests come from either product teams with ideas about things like, hey, I want to let clients know that they're going into overdraft, or I want to let clients know that a bill payment is coming due and they should probably set that up. But I would say the majority of our requests probably come from our client experience team, and they're the ones with the journey mapping and the ideas on what it is that clients really want to see. So I hope that answered that one.
Okay. A couple more before we end the session today. What tools or processes do you use to track results such as impressions or click-throughs?
Yeah, so we have weekly reporting on impressions and click-through numbers and number of clients that have seen our communications. What we've done is we've integrated at the presentation level, so on the actual banners themselves, we've embedded some code that our IBM Interact system understands as certain actions. So when a client views a communication, there's a tag which enables a service which inserts that into our database. So we get real-time data analytics based on what people are seeing, what they're dismissing, what they're not looking at, what they're clicking on, and so on. And we look at that on a weekly basis, and sometimes over the past year or so, looking at those results have actually made us change direction in certain areas. Once we see, like Jason was talking about, are people actually, is this resonating with people? How many people have seen it? Why aren't they consuming it? And then we make changes on the fly as we see those.
Okay, another question. What's on the horizon for the team in 2019?
That's a good question. So in 2019, we have a lot of plans, of course, to continue to do and evolve the platform the way we've been building it. But what our real priority is lately is building a way to, or creating a way to increase velocity. So it does take us time. We have front-end and back-end developers and analysts and so on, but it does take us time in a matter of, let's say, days to a couple of weeks to produce content, and we want to be able to really shrink that and see if there are some off-the-shelf applications or tools we can use that generate these insightful communications for us. So looking at our database as opposed to our database developer doing all the work, we want to see if there are tools out there, and we're actually looking at a couple right now, that will do some of the heavy lifting for us so we can increase velocity and get these communications out to clients even more quickly.
Okay, a couple more before we end the session today. How will your team be applying the learnings from 2018?
How are we applying the learning? Yeah, so this is the learnings from 2018. It's more like we were able to look at it holistically at the end of the year and look at general trends, but we're actually doing it weekly. So the changes that we've continued to make are in our structure, in our team structure, so we're tweaking it a little bit. We work a bit more closely, as I mentioned, with the CX team to get requirements. And essentially, we're really trying, everything that comes through our queue, everything that our team works on, we really scrutinize through a lens, a client lens. We actually, one interesting thing, I think is interesting, Jason may agree or not, but one thing that we changed about midway through the year last year was we looked at every deliverable that we were going to work on, and we measured it based on business value. So how valuable is this to the business? And we gave it a score, and we decided based on the score and the effort whether we would do it or not. We transitioned to what we call client value, right? So relative client value. So we look at things through the lens of a client, say how valuable is this to the client as opposed to how valuable is this to us. And the hope and the belief is that clients will appreciate and understand that over time and become better clients with a stronger relationship with Tangerine, and that's what we're looking for there.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. This question just came in. So how do you address the inbound personalization aligned with outbound communication?
So I can take a stab at this. We actually, there is an area where we integrate inbound and outbound, and that's through things like requesting a call or call me back. Essentially, what we're able to do is take data from, and we're actually just starting to do this, but we're taking data from our contact center, and we're trying to learn what it is that clients are calling about, what it is that sort of is top of mind for that, and making that a behavior that our system looks at. So we want to look at clients that are coming in through that channel on inbound, as well as making outbound calls and communications. Another area which Jason probably knows a little more than me about, which is email. So we use email in the same manner that we use other channels, right? And do you want to talk a little bit about how the integration works?
So when we built this system, this platform, this marketing platform, the business and myself was very involved in putting this together. Again, like Craig mentioned, I've been with the company for 10 years, and I've been with marketing for 10 years. And I kind of understood how marketing works and what processes and what the way they run a certain campaign. So having that knowledge and understanding was I worked with IT to build a certain marketing platform so that all the stuff we're doing with Insight is all integrated and closely knit together. So a certain offer that goes in our Insight platform will also be linked to our email component that are closely knit together, so that an analytics starts analyzing a certain click-through rate or a response, we know that it's related to a certain response, a certain offer or a certain campaign. So building a system and understanding the integration of how the business runs is very important in terms of tracking and tying things together.
Okay. That's great. I think that's the end of the questions. I'd like to thank everybody for joining the presentation today. We will be posting the presentation on our website, so if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Munvo, and we can get those questions answered for you. And we certainly want to thank Jason and Craig for the presentation today. We appreciate their feedback on their system and the topic of the day, personalization. So thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great day.